Welcome, everybody. How's everybody today? All right, we have a good show planned for you guys today, and I think we're gonna have some fun here. So, first of all, welcome to everybody that's here today, bright and early. Thank you for joining us. Addicted to Gear comes live to you every Sunday, and I look forward to these shows each and every week, and I hope you guys do too. And today we have another great show lined up. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite guitar, plug it in, strum away, and let's get ready to talk gear. Um, Today's show is brought to you by THU. I wanted to mention that at the beginning of the show just to get that out of the way. They are sponsoring the show, and we're going to have somebody from them on our show soon to actually go and demo the stuff, show you guys what it can do. I'm working on a video for that right now. I was actually recording that yesterday. Amazing piece of software, man. There's so much you can do with it. It's such a great inexpensive way to have some really nice sounds at your disposal. So I highly recommend you guys check it out if you have an opportunity, and maybe you're not necessarily looking for any new physical amps or pedals or whatever, but you could swing some software. It's a great starting point. You can do so much with it. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Make sure that you give me a thumbs up if the sound is okay. It might be a little bit too low, and I could adjust that if it is. Let me just maybe check the gain. Maybe just put it slightly louder. Is that better? I think I might have it dialed down a little bit. All right. So who's here today? Some familiar faces. Dan is here. Jack is here as well. Oh yeah, I mentioned on the bulletin board at the beginning when you guys see the thumbnail for the show. I mentioned I wanted you guys to try and guess which guitar I'd be using today. So some of you did. You gave it a shot. So Jack says, hello everyone, I think it's going to be the SG with P90s. An excellent choice, Jack. That's a great guitar. But no, unfortunately today I decided to play the Sir Standard Pro that I've had for quite a few years. And this is the guitar I'm going to be enjoying today. It's plugged in, but I'll plug it in a little bit later. Got to give my fingers a chance to wake up first. All right, so Gene says he's making coffee. So Jack also, I mean, he tried, which is good. A good attempt. It's not easy, but it's kind of fun to try and guess what I'm going to be using. Gene says he's going to be using the red Telecaster. Also a good choice. No, not today. So I'm just going to go through the comments and just get to the latest ones first as we go down, and then we'll get into some interesting chat that I have lined up for you guys. And if you guys don't already know, I mean, you guys are regulars here. I think most of you already know, but for the newcomers, if you don't know, you got to subscribe to be able to chat. We welcome anybody, anybody's comments. If you have anything you want to talk about, don't hesitate. It's always more than my pleasure to answer any questions that are gear related, guitar related, or anything else, if I can. If not, I'll defer to the people here. So let's get started. So Paul's here. Hey, welcome, Paul. Paul says Nightmare Week. Pros that steal credit cards from instructions like insurance companies and convert money to Bitcoin. So the card I had used to pay for the phone, internet, etc. was canceled without me knowing. Okay, that does sound like a nightmare week. I'm wondering how they actually got their hands on your card. That's always a nightmare if somebody does do any kind of fraud. that can take a long time to get resolved, Paul. So hopefully the credit card company has already canceled your card, and hopefully that'll be resolved in no time. But sometimes until things get resolved, they can actually block your bank account. So I hope that doesn't happen to you, man. Okay, sorry to hear that, buddy. Profile Productions is here. Hey, welcome, Profile. He says that was a great story on the Marshall. So I guess you're referring to the video that I put out explaining how I got my hands on the Studio Classic that's over there. That guy. I don't know if anybody else saw the video here, but I actually got that amplifier. I bought that amplifier from Brian Greenway from April Wine, and I posted a video this week. I don't know if you guys saw it, but that was the highlight of my week for sure. Sorry, I'm just trying to clear my throat a little bit. I still have that morning voice going. And yeah, so I kind of told the story about how that came about. And if you guys are interested, it's in my channel. That was probably one of the most awesome thing to happen to me regarding gear, because I've never actually, I never actually went out intending to buy gear from somebody that is, a bona fide rock star. But it just so happens that, a freaky chain of events basically led to it. And you know what? I actually, in the video, so I go about describing how I got the amplifier, and it was totally haphazard. It wasn't planned at all. You know me, I'm always scouring Marketplace and whatnot to be able to find some good deals. And you probably already know, I mentioned it so many times, how much I enjoy the Marshall Studio Classic and the vintage. I have the vintage Plexi, which I love. And I had my heart on getting the JCM 800 Studio Classic. But those amps don't always pop up that easily. For some reason, I don't always see them on the used market. From time to time, they do pop up. Sometimes people try and ask for too much money on them. I think the prices did slightly go up on those models based on like the starting price when they actually came out on the market. I think they were about $1,400. Now, I think they're up to about $1,800, something like that. I would have to check to make sure, but I'll do that later. So anyways, I said to myself, when one pops up, I'm going to try and grab it if it's a good deal. So I kept on scouring the Marketplace and all these places where you can find used gear locally. And lo and behold, I saw that particular amp being listed. And it wasn't just the amp, it was the amp, the head, and the 2x12 cabinet, along with some really custom quality custom covers from customcovers.com, I think it is. So I had a really nice cover for the head and the cabinet, which I don't usually get. So the whole package, good price, mint condition, and so I jumped on it. But I didn't realize at the time that the amp was being sold by Brian Greenway. And if you guys know April Wine, Brian Greenway's been with April Wine since 1977, playing guitar. So I got to meet him, and it blew my mind. It's one of those things. And if you look carefully on the side of the amplifier behind me there, you can see that there's a signature. I got him to sign it for me, but I tell the whole story in detail in my video. So if you guys want to see that or hear that and get the whole story, just go to my channel and watch that video. It's pretty freaky. So I mentioned at the end of the video that I was going to try to reach out to Brian and see if he would be interested in coming on the show at some point. And I actually texted Brian yesterday, I think it was, and I sent him the link to the video. So I I didn't say anything. I just said, hey, you know, Brian, I love the amp. Thank you so much. And I sent him the video, and he responded. He says, hey, I'm driving right now. I'll watch it a little bit later. So hopefully he watched it. And if he did and he watched it all the way through, he'll see that, you know, I invited him to participate on the show. And if he's available, because I know he's traveling a lot, and he probably has some gigs lined up, and he's probably making his way to some other gigs as we speak. Maybe we can squeeze it in his schedule, my schedule. I was checking out the tour dates, and I'll share that with you guys. I was checking out the April Wine tour dates on aprilwine.ca. And I can see here that the upcoming show on the 26th is going to be in Falmouth. And that's on the 26th. So maybe he's making his way there. I don't know. They got a lot of shows lined up. August is back-to-back shows, almost all of August. And September, October, all the way to you know, Germany, Munich. They're going to be going to Europe here. A lot of shows in Germany, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and then back to BC. I missed the opportunity of seeing them early on this year here in my hometown, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to wait for them to come around again. But I'm going to try and go. I got to go now. I've never actually seen April Wine in concert. So I mentioned I'm a little embarrassed about that on my video, but I'm going to make up for it. I'm going to definitely go catch a show now. All right. So if you guys have any questions, guys, don't let me steal the show and rant. Just put a little question mark in front of your question for me, and I'll try and answer it. Okay, I'll jump right on it. So Jack says, I've seen that video, love the story of the amp, and I'd love to have the amp myself. I think I'm never going to sell that amp, Jack. You know, I usually, you know, gear comes and goes with me. It doesn't always stick around. But I think something like that, with a story like that, I got to keep that amp. I'm probably never going to sell it. Plus, it's a great sounding amp, by the way, guys. If ever you're looking for that JCM tone and you want to get something that's not going to blow your eardrums out, check them out, man. They're great. I know a lot of people will say that it's not necessarily, doesn't have the same amount of girth as the full-blown JCM 800 Marshall, like the vintage ones do. I can attest to that, and I mentioned that in my video as well. It doesn't. Those amps, those vintage 100-watt JCM 800s are monsters. They sound fantastic, but you gotta really crank them. And honestly, they're so loud. I had one for a while, and then I decided to sell it because I wasn't able to play it most of the time at the volume that it required to get it to the sweet spot. So I let it go. But I don't necessarily regret it. It's a great, great amp. And I'm giving this one a complete thumbs up. I'll do some videos on it for you guys so you can hear it in action and you'll see what I mean. But it does a fantastic job. So Vinny, you're jumping in late on the chat. Vinny, I did a video this week. I posted it on my channel. The amp is signed by Brian Greenway from April Wine. And I tell the whole story of how I bought that amplifier from him, which was a total haphazard, by chance experience that I had about a week ago. And it blew my mind to get to meet him. I actually went and picked it up at his house. Super nice guy, and awesome experience. So it's one of those things that I'll remember for a long time. So if you're interested in watching that video, it's on my channel. I tell the whole story in it. All right, so I'm just gonna scroll up a little bit here. Mark says he saw Jason Isbell and the 400 unit this week. Was very close to a real Dumble, although he didn't have his 59 Red Eye Les Paul out with him. I think I heard about that show. How was it, Mark? Was it everything you expected it to be? Was it fantastic, or was it just meh? It's funny how us gear guys, we'll go to shows and we'll like eyeball all of the equipment, what they're using, the amps, the pedals, the setup, and all that kind of stuff. It's part of the experience for us, I guess. Vinny says, "Oh, I'll check it out. Must have missed it in my feed." Yeah, for sure, man. Check it out. Absolutely. Here, I'll even post it in here to make it easy for you guys to find. Let me just go back into my channel here and see if I can find it. I'm working on some other videos for you guys this week. I got a couple of interesting things lined up for you, so you should see some new videos coming out shortly. And I invite you guys to take a look at those as well. I got a couple of interesting items to review. Here's the link to the video. So Mark says, "Great playing, great gear." I'm sure the playing was fantastic. I'm itching to go watch another show. I haven't actually seen anything recently, and it's kind of like I'm due to watch something. As I mentioned last week, I think if you guys were around, I had caught a free Beatles tribute band that they were playing locally here. Totally 100% free, and I just decided to go and have a listen to it. They were actually very good. They were playing all the early stuff, so if you're not a Beatles fan and you're not a Beatles fan of the early stuff, you probably wouldn't like it. But the whole point was, like, this band does the whole thing. Like, if you watch their whole show, is basically the early stuff, and then they make their way towards the the middle stuff and the older stuff. But since the show was only about an hour and a half, they just cut it short and they played all the early Beatles stuff. And they had the blazers, and they had the matching pants and shoes, and they had all the gear, the Vox guitars, and the all the classic instruments and stuff. And they sounded like pretty darn close. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. People got into it. They had the crowd moving. All right, so let's go scroll back a little bit further here. Shane is here. Hey, Shane, how's it going, man? Shane says, "Anyone see the PRS video? Paul's trying to con us into buying Tonewood by tapping on boards again. He should concentrate on more designing decent pickups instead." Ooh, Shane. Ouch. Shane's got some schooling he wants to do, Paul. I take it you don't buy his tapping on the wood stuff. I think Paul's the type of guy you either love him or hate him. I think one of the reasons why people don't necessarily like Paul that much is because he comes off a little bit arrogant. Comes off as a little bit of a know-it-all kind of thing, like, I'm telling you what it is and you don't know better than me type of thing. But, take it with a big grain of salt. He is trying to sell guitars after all. So we'll see. We'll see what this knocking on Tonewood actually. Here, let me do this. How does this sound? Does it sound more expensive than my Squier? Let me get my Squier. It's down there. I don't feel like getting it. We'll do the test later on. I'll just take all my guitars and I'll knock on them like this for you guys. And I won't tell you which guitar it is, and you tell me which one is the most expensive just by the sound of the knock. Oh boy, Tonewood stuff. Jeff says, "Hi Tony. When you got your sir, did you say this is how I?" Okay, let me just post this for you guys. "Did you say how I won't need to buy another guitar? I know I did. That was at least 15 guitars ago." Oh yeah, I know what you mean, man. Jeff, I say that every time I buy something. This is why the channel's called Addicted to Gear. There never is or seems to be the last guitar. Even though you think there may be, usually there's another one that pops up. But I like this guitar a lot. I definitely appreciate getting this guitar when I did. I didn't pay full price for this guitar. I got it in a trade, and I think I came out on top with this guitar. I forget what I traded for. I don't remember. I'm trying to think back. But something good, that's for sure. But it wasn't like these guitars. I went to Long and McQuaid. When was it? Saturday or Friday? No, Friday. I went to Long and McQuaid this Friday because I was meeting up with a friend of mine there. And I just happened to go in and take a look. I really just wanted to buy some strings and stuff, but I figured I'm here, I might as well take a look, see what they have. And sometimes some cool stuff pops up on the used shelf that they have there. They don't have a big used section, just a small shelf. But they had two Sir guitars, and they never have Sir guitars. They don't actually sell Sir guitars, but they were in the used section. And there was a Pete Thorne model, and there was another version of this guitar, which is the Standard Pro. And they were both selling for over $4,000 used, which I thought was crazy. Because like, I don't know how much these guitars are selling new for, but if they're selling for $4,000 used, what the heck? Both of them were used. I tried both of them just to see how they felt compared to mine. The Standard Pro, like this one, was slightly different. It had some appointments that this one doesn't have. And I was more curious to try out the Pete Thorne model because I never actually tried that one. And I'm happy to report that I didn't like it as much as this one. Not that it's not a good guitar, but I didn't like the neck. The neck on it was painted. It was had a painted neck, and I don't like the sticky feel of painted necks. So as soon as I tried it, I'm like, nah, not for me. So I ended up coming out and reaffirming that I like this guitar and I'm gonna keep it. But I couldn't get over the price that they were selling for used. I couldn't believe it. What are they selling for now? I don't even know. Let me see this. I gotta look this up because I gotta see what the prices are in Canada. Maybe it was a good deal, but it didn't seem like. Let's see. It depends on the model, obviously, and maybe the new ones are a little bit different, but. So brand new, let's see, I think the Sir Classic is selling from around 4,007 to 5,009 Canadian. The Sir Modern Plus is about $5,700 Canadian. The signature models are $5,300 to $6,300. Even the Telecasters, which I like a lot, the Sir Classic Ts are $4,700 to over $5,000. So yeah, it's pretty expensive, man. So even though they were selling them for like $4,000, that they were, I guess it's still kind of a deal. Hard to imagine that being a deal, but I guess it is. Crazy, man, crazy. All right. So Shane says, ever own a Charvel, Tony? I have one coming in the mail. Help me justify my purchase. What's to justify, Shane? You made a good. I saw the pictures you sent me the other day. What's to justify? Charvel makes great guitars. I don't know if you saw the video, Shane, but I actually bought a new Charvel not long ago. That I showed on the channel a couple of weeks back. Maybe you didn't participate in that live chat, but it's over here. I can grab it, but I don't feel like it. It's down there. I gotta take my guitar and put it down. Maybe I'll show it to you after. But I walked into Long and McQuaid, Shane, not wanting to buy anything, as I normally do, just walking in and taking a look at the stuff that they have. And unfortunately, I grabbed, at the time they had a Kramer Beretta, and I grabbed the Kramer Beretta. Not the special, the full blown American version. I think it's American anyways. And they had the wrong price on it. They had put the price at $400. And I know that guitar doesn't sell for $400. So stupid me, instead of just saying, I'll take it at 400, I said, are you sure this is the price? Or no, I actually went in there and I said, is this guitar used? Because the price was too low. And then the guy looks at it and he's like, no, it's brand new. And I'm like, then he's like, let me check in the computer. So he checks in the computer and he's like, oh, we have the wrong price on it, because it wasn't $400. So he ends up catching the mistake, and I could have walked out of there with a $400 Kramer Beretta, but it wasn't meant to be. So anyways, he puts it back on the shelf, and then I spot this Charvel that I bought, and I didn't want to buy it, but I tried it, stupid me, and I loved it. And at the time, I was looking at, I was considering the new Fender guitars with the modern appointments and all that good stuff with the Floyd. And when I tried that one, it blew the Fender out of the water. And I'm like, nah, the Fender's not for me. I walked away. I had to buy that one. I bought it on the spot. Anyways, so I walked out with that guitar, and I have it here, and I love it. So you're gonna love your Charvel. I know your Charvel is slightly a different model. It's got the pointy headstock and all of that. Mine has the Fender style headstock, so it's not exactly the same model. But I think you're gonna like it, man. Let me know when you get it. If this is your first Charvel. By the way, this is not my first Charvel. I had another one. I had a San Dimas at one point. And it was a purple San Dimas. It's probably in my videos somewhere. And that was a really fun guitar. It only had 2 humbuckers. This one that I bought now has a humbucker and 2 single coils with splitting and certain things with the Floyd. I vowed a while back that I wouldn't necessarily buy another guitar with a Floyd, because sometimes Floyds are more hassle than they're worth. But I couldn't resist. It was such a cool guitar. Oh, and by the way, guys, I'll show you coming up on some videos. I'll do a messy workbench video for you guys. And I'll show you a really cool tool if you don't already have, and you have a guitar that has a Floyd Rose, you're going to need this tool. I'm going to show you a really cool way to simplify the intonation process with guitars that have Floyds on them. And I think you're going to like it. All right. Just scrolling quickly just to see if there's any question marks for me. Paul says, Tony, the knock thing works. Gibson use it for choosing body blanks for their custom shop. You're listening for sustain and some blanks will ring longer. I know it's true. It will. Some pieces of wood will sound brighter. They used to do that also on violins. It's also the amount of sap in the wood, how dry the wood is. Like, you definitely don't want to have wood that hasn't been dried properly. But I mean, again, it's the old argument of diminishing returns. Like, at the end of the day, when the guitar is put together and you're playing it and all that kind of stuff, I mean, it does definitely impact the whole, because a guitar basically is a series of different components that make up the whole. So it definitely has some effect or some, nuance on the final result. But I don't know if you can go and just pick a guitar based on that. There's so many other factors once a guitar is put together. So that's just my 2 cents. What do I know? Rick says, Tony, you're an honest dude. So many would have just bought it. No, Rick, I'm not honest. I was just dumb. I would have bought it if they wouldn't, if they wouldn't have caught on. But anyways, it was, like I said, it wasn't meant to be. And actually, I think I actually walked out with a better guitar at the end of it. So you got to be careful when, temptation strikes. sometimes you'll buy something before thinking it through, and you gotta you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. All right. So Shane says ringing wood has nothing much to do with the pickups. I don't want to get into the show the tone wood argument, guys, because we're gonna be here for like 3 weeks talking about that. Casey Lee says I bought a new Charvel, made in Mexico, San Dimas 2, Telecaster style, 2 splittable humbuckers, chlorine burst. Great player. What is chlorine burst, by the way? That sounds like an interesting color, but I have no clue what color chlorine burst is. I love when companies do that and they use these fancy names for colors and then you have no clue what color that's supposed to be. But let me know what color it is. It sounds cool. I've always had an itch for a Charvel, Telecaster style Charvel with humbuckers. There's one that's lingering on one of the marketplaces here locally. I think it's gold, like it looks like a gold top. It looks pretty cool. But I'm kind of tapped out right now. So I got to have my bank account sort of replenish a little bit before I can justify another purchase. Casey says, seems like my 2 pine body Telecaster sound better than my other 2. Pine is actually a very good wood. It's just the only reason pine is not used more often is because it's soft and it dings very easily. But back in the day, Fender was using pine at a certain point. And I have a custom built Telecaster that I put together that I show pretty often. That is actually made of reclaimed pine, and that pine is over 100 years old, and it plays great, So it's just because it dings easy, soft. It's a softer wood, and actually pine, if it's not dried properly, does have a lot of sap in it. So you have to really make sure that it's dried out properly. But after like 100 years, whatever sap is in there is probably long gone or has crystallized a long time ago. Rick, I thought about that. Rick says legally they would have to sell it at that price. Plus they would want to save face. Yeah, I don't know if that applies to guitars, Maybe it does. I don't know. I thought the law here was that if you buy something and the price is wrong, in other words, it's more expensive or whatever, and you catch them and you correct them, they have to give it to you for free. But I don't know if that applies to items that are less expensive or if they made the mistake and the price is too low. I don't know. I'm not sure. So Rick agrees with me, says all the original Telecasters were pine. Cushman says my pine Telecaster sings. Yeah, I mean, I could agree with you on that. I have the same experience. Gene Kelly says fried eggs, tomato soup, and meat, flesh tone, were color descriptions EART used to describe their guitar colors. Tomato soup. You guys are making me hungry. Fried eggs. Those are not necessarily the type of colors I'm thinking about when I think of like designer colors. Usually they have colors that sound very enticing, like morning mist or tranquil brook, or I don't know, some crazy things like that. Guys, if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you're watching and you're enjoying it so far, please give me a thumbs up. We have 22 thumbs up so far, and we have 58 to 60 people here. So I would appreciate you guys giving some thumbs up. And jump in on the chat, guys, because it's an open platform. Okay, it's not just me talking here. It's a two-way conversation. Oh, by the way, somebody earlier today mentioned that they didn't understand that little system that YouTube is using right now to give you like the little crowns. I forget who mentioned it. I saw it earlier. Those crowns, they're called top fan stickers, by the way, in case you're wondering. And I don't really understand them myself, to be honest, but I believe the way it works is that during live streams, you can get a crown, and it appears at the top, and it basically, YouTube gives you points. So doing certain things will give you points, and you can get number 1, number 2, number 3, and once you get them, you can actually get knocked off. So if you're number 1, you might not stay number 1, depending on what kind of interaction people will do. But the bottom line on all of this is during live streams, YouTube will track engagement metrics, and like if you're chatting or sending messages, if you do super chats, super stickers, all that stuff, you get points, and those points will give you a crown at a certain point. So a crown will appear at the top of the chat, showing your current point position for the session. And if you click on the crown, the crown, you get a leaderboard displaying the top 50 most engaged viewers. And I can do that on my side, and I can tell you who they are in case you don't see them on your side. But let me see here. Let me see if I can do this on my side here. It's just because I'm only going into detail on this because you guys are asking. And yeah, so if, for example, here we have in, let's see, third position is Vinny's World. And I appreciate it, dude, for your engagement. So you're number 3. And I'm just trying to see who's number 2 and who's number 1 here. So number 2 here is NFM. So if you're here, NFM, you're number 2. And again, I appreciate you guys. And I believe number 1. How come I don't see number 1 here? Let me just check out something here. Yeah, so number 1 is Jack Collins. He's number 1. He's got 100 experience points. Profile Productions, number 2 with 100. And NFM also number 3 with 75. So Vinny's World is very close at 75 as well, but unfortunately I think MFN just beat him out. So you guys are very close. A lot of you have 75s, but a few of you have a little bit more. So the more chatting you're doing, the higher your points, and you guys can have a little bit of fun and try and knock each other off, point number 1. I think that's cool. Shane says it must be rigged. I don't think so. I mean, if it is, I'm not rigging it. Right now, let's see. Yeah, it goes up to 31 positions, by the way. There's 31 positions in the ranking. So, all right, cool. Rick says, Tony, I've always thought of as number 2. You can be number 1, Rick. And Rob says, not sure if folks on the phone, on phone YouTube earn points. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, Rob. I'm not sure. I don't know. Zach says the numbers change all the time. Yeah, it depends on, it depends on your current engagement, I think. So yeah, it can change. So Presley says, I went to see Toad the Wet Sprocket last night. They sounded awesome, and the lighting was really cool. Gotta love 90s hits with lasers. Yeah, lasers and smoke. You need that, right? Toad the Wet Sprocket. I haven't heard that name in such a long time. So that's interesting. That's pretty cool. Hey, I meant to talk about the fact that, I don't know if you guys are Coldplay fans, but they released 2 new singles this week. Just kidding. It's a joke. Okay, not a good joke. I'm sure you guys know the story. Everybody does, about the couple that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar at the Coldplay concert. If you haven't heard it, you're probably under a rock, or maybe you don't have internet. Crazy story. You know how it went down. Couple is having an affair. They're at a Coldplay concert. They have the, the fan cam that goes around and, puts your face on the screen. Of course, they zoom in on this couple. They look like, deers with their head, caught in the headlights. They have that stare, that crazy stare, like, oh shit, we just got caught red-handed. And then they kind of like duck out of the shot. And of course, the singer Coldplay nails it. He's like, they're either having an affair or extremely shy. And he was right the first time. He got it absolutely on the button. They ended up being caught having an affair. And now they're all over the internet. It went viral. So talk about, being at the wrong place at the wrong time, and, one show ruins your life and probably your career as well. The funny thing about that story is how fast people jumped on it. Like, it was everywhere. And unfortunately, there was another young lady with them that had purchased the tickets, and she was an employee also, and they fired her on the spot. I don't know why, but she ended up getting fired then and there, because apparently it's her fault that they got caught, because she bought the tickets. So if she didn't buy the tickets, they wouldn't have got caught, and so therefore it's their fault. It's her fault. Anyways, I think she's countersuing the company or whatever for being fired for that or whatever it is. And I don't know what the whole story is, but it's just a crazy story. Yes, the woman in the story with the man is the VP of HR. The man was, I think, the CEO, and the woman, the other lady that got fired, was some other employee. I don't know what her title was. So it was pretty funny, and there's a lot of memes coming out right now, and this stuff, I mean, it's all over the place. So, if you're going to fool around, get a room. It's just funny how people think they can do this stuff and never get caught. Anyway, just wanted to mention and give you my 2 cents on that story, but it's just funny how, I guess now every time they listen to Coldplay, they're going to remember how it ruined their lives. So maybe they won't like that band anymore. I don't know. Crazy stuff. By the way, how many of you out there own a Boss Blues Driver? Does anyone own a Boss Blues Driver here? Just curious. The reason I'm asking is because I had purchased a Blues Driver many, many years ago and I didn't like it. Well, I got another one. And guess what? I still don't like it. This is the crazy stuff that I do, guys. I bought this Blues Driver like probably 20 years ago. And at the time, I wanted to see what it was all about, and I bought it, and I didn't really bond with it. So many years later, and so many people raving about this pedal, I'm like, maybe I wasn't in the right headspace at the time. Maybe I was playing style of music that was slightly different, and that's the reason why I didn't bond with this pedal. So I said, you know what, let me give it another try. So I ended up getting another one, and I just plugged it in the other day into my Princeton, and I didn't like it. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't have its place somewhere else. Like, maybe this pedal is not a good match for the Princeton. Maybe I need to put this in front of a different amplifier. But so far, man, I think this is going to be on the chopping block. But sometimes you got to do these things. You got to do these things to remind yourself to maybe trust yourself a little more. And often when I sell items, and sometimes I'll have seller's remorse. I'll sell a guitar or I'll sell an amp or pedals or whatever. And after a few months, maybe even a couple of years, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have sold that. And then I come across it again and I'm like, maybe I should buy that again. And then I hear that little voice in my head said, you know what? You didn't like it the last time. That's the reason you sold it. What makes you think that you're going to like it again, you know? But I had a moment of weakness with this one and I ended up trying it again. But, you know, no harm, no foul. I mean, I could just put this for sale and, you know, recoup my money and buy something else. But I'm just wondering how many of you are psycho like I am and do the same thing. So Jeff says he's done that too. Bought a pedal he didn't like, then bought it again, still didn't like it. So I'm not the only one. And when I say psycho, Jeff, I mean it in the most, you know, respectful way. Jeff says Clocks is a good song. I like it. I like that song, yeah. Some Coldplay songs are nice. Others remind me of lullabies for whatever reason. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, guys. And again, if you have anything you want to ask, jump right in. MFN says, I have a blues driver, but only use my Wampler. And Jeff says he has the Waza, the blues driver to the Waza version. Actually, that's one other thing that I might actually do with this. Actually, before I sell it, if I don't like it, I might actually mod it because there's a lot of platforms out there. There's websites that will allow you to mod these things relatively easily, and you can actually make them sound better. There's probably some mods out there that will make it sound very close to the Waza version, and maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. I'll see. David says he has the OS2. Rob says he answered 0 on your pedal survey. Oh yeah, and that. Thank you for reminding, Rob. There is a survey out there today that we'll get to in a minute as well. Rexomatic says, did you ever use a sparkle drive? I still have one, pulled it out during some rehearsals, still like it. I don't have the sparkle drive, no, unfortunately. I'm trying to buy less drive pedals right now because I think a lot of people own way too many drive pedals. I know I do. And generally I'll go back to my usual number 1 or number 2. And all the rest kind of end up in a bin somewhere. So I'm not sure if I get tempted all the time, by the way, guys. Don't get me wrong. But I'm trying to be strong on that one. I have this one right over here. Well, I mean, be strong. You don't use that take that with a grain of salt. I have this one, which is the PAL 800, which is JCM 800 tone and a pedal. That's one of the recent ones that I got. And I also thoroughly enjoy this one, which is the Wampler Pantheon. I like that one a lot too. So there's quite a few others that I have as well, but you know, these are the ones that generally pop up over and over again on my board, and you know, this week it's one, next week it's a different one. And Jeff says, you're not the only one. I've had the Riverside 3 times. Alex wants to know if I like the Line 6 HX1. It's pretty cool. I do like it. The thing is, Alex, that there's so much choice coming out so quickly. There's so many freaking units coming out that, you know, it's hard not to be tempted by one or the other. Then you buy one and then later that week there's another one that comes out. And this, I can't keep up. There's so much. I like it a lot though. The Line 6 stuff has always been quite good. I have a unit from Sonic Cake, which is the Matribox 2 Pro. That's actually what I'm plugged into right now. Actually, I'm going to change my pick. This is the Matribox 2 Pro, and it sounds great too. You know, I don't know, I can't keep up. Just last week, I think it was, or the week before, I also did a demo for you guys on the Valaton, the GP5, this guy here. And this is like a mini all-in-one unit. And it sounds good. It sounds really good. And it's very inexpensive. I mean, this is the same price as a Polytune, I think it is. So it's crazy what they're able to do these days and how much, you know, power they're able to put into a very small unit like that. So the answer is yes to all of it. And I was even, like, I mentioned that at the beginning of the show that this show is sponsored by THU Overloud. And I'm a big fan of it, not just because it's sponsoring the show, but I've actually been playing with the software nonstop. And as I mentioned, I think earlier, I'm actually going to be putting out a video and showing you some of the sounds, letting you hear some of the sounds and some of the cool stuff you can do with software today. And honestly, like, it's got a lot of power under the hood. And you don't necessarily have to go out and buy a Fractal these days, especially if you're just playing at home. You can do it all with software. I mean, a Fractal is basically a computer. And, you know, if you have a decent computer at home with the right software, you can get pretty much equivalent sounds, and it sounds fantastic for, you know, a couple $100. You're in business, you know. And I started playing with it, and I've been playing it for a while, and I'm just blown away by how many tones are in that thing that you can actually customize. So easy to customize. And because everything's on the screen and everything is visual, it's a piece of cake. So I think you're gonna be impressed when I actually let you hear some of the sounds. I know I was blown away because I only intended to like go in and do a couple of things, and there I was like 3 or 4 hours later. I'm like, oh, and this sounds like this guy, and then tweaking it a little bit. Oh, and I can get this sound. You know, I can get a Jimmy Page sound. Cool. I can get a Keith Richards sound. Really nice. I can get this. I can get that. And I was like having so much fun, I couldn't put it down. So, you know, there's a lot of choice today, is what I'm trying to say. That's my main point, is like, don't get bogged down that it has to be hardware, because I'm like open to all of it. You know, hardware, software, multi-effects, pedals, amps, the whole thing. I love just having tones available to me, and I don't really care how I get them as long as they sound good. So it's a great time to be living as a guitarist because there's just so much choice. You know, so, you know, sometimes you end up with this and you don't like it. That's okay. You know, just look around a little more and you'll find 5 other things that you can, you know, enjoy more than that if you want to. Let's see here. Presley says, well, I'm on my 3rd marriage. Presley, you know what they say, third time's the charm, right? We have to laugh, Presley, because, you know, if we don't laugh, man, what's the point, right? Ian's Guitar Shack says, never played a Blues Driver. Lots of people love it. And you know what convinced me? And this is why you should never listen to YouTubers. Coming from me, I shouldn't be saying that, but I was watching a shootout, I think it was Anderton's, and they were shooting out a whole bunch of pedals, and they were going back and forth, and there was like a blind shootout, and the Blues Driver kept on winning over and over again. So I'm like, it does sound good in the video. Maybe it's time for me to check it out. And I checked it out and was like, no, nope, So I don't know why it sounds better in their video, but it didn't sound good here. So I'm gonna play around with it a little bit more and decide. But you know, usually you can tell right off the bat if you bond with something or not. So Danielle, hey Danielle, what's happening? He says I've tempted to order a junior barnyard pedal. Supposed to give you that old Gibson EH185 amp sound. I haven't heard of that. So you're tempted. Did you do it though? Or are you just considering it? Like I like to say to everybody, sleep on it, man. Sometimes, you know, we jump on things a little too quick and then we end up regretting it. So, you know, like there's a lot of hoopla right now on the Tonex pedal, the brown sound, it's making waves. I think everybody's talking about it right now. And I've heard some sounds. It sounds good. But because it's the brown sound and everybody wants to have the brown sound, they have 3 different pedals with the brown sound, I guess, at different stages of history. Because, you know, Eddie's tone did evolve over time. So now they're coming out with these little mini Tonex pedals that have that specific sound in it. And I think they're going to sell like hotcakes because the videos do sound quite good. They're a little expensive for the size. I mean, they're pretty small, but I think they're like almost $200, if I'm not mistaken, which I find pretty expensive. I had the full-blown Tonex pedal before I sold it. I wasn't a big fan of the software and how the software worked with the Tonex. Now, I don't know if the new stuff, if they've made the software better, but I'm willing to give that one another try, especially since the brown sound stuff seems to be so really good. So you can get each of the individual brown sound Tonex collections. If you pre-order it, I think it's a special price of about, I think it's between 80 euros to over 99 euros. And then you can load it into your Tonex. It's pretty cool to have that, you know, on the fly. So I might have to check it out. And apparently the brown sound samples that you get are between 1978 and 1980 brown sound versions, let's say. So that sounds good, but it's still $250 or around there. So I don't know. Jack says he'll be back in a minute. He's going to walk his dog. Jack, you have my permission. I don't know why Jack asks for permission. When the dog's gotta go, the dog's gotta go, man. Yeah, the GP5 from Volaton is sold out, Gene, in a lot of places. A lot of people have reached out to me after I put out my video and have asked me, like, where did you get it? And it's already sold out. Unfortunately, that's what it is. There's a lot of hype around it, so a lot of people will snag one when they can. Jeff says, speaking of pedals, Thomann are selling the Supro delay pedal for 66 euros. Crazy low price. I ordered 2. I don't know if they're any good though. I'm not really familiar with the Supro delay. I'll have to check that out. You guys are tempting me with new stuff even before, you know, I end the show. I'm already tempted with 10 new things here. It's dangerous. You guys are costing me a fortune. Shane says Andertons did a cheap overdrive shootout and the Ibanez Tube Screamer won. That's no fun. I'm not a huge fan of the Tube Screamer. I had one. I had a couple, and I sold them all. The only thing I have that's Tube Screamer-ish right now, I think, is a cheap Behringer version or something like that. But I hardly use the Tube Screamer anymore. See, Ian's Guitar Shack says, I used a dual overdrive VSXO by True Tone, a Wampler Pinnacle, and a Friedman BEOD Deluxe on my board. So I have the BE pedal as well. That's another pedal that I didn't bond with. Ian, I don't know why. It just seemed too harsh, you know, for the type of sounds I guess I was trying to get. The Pinnacle, though, I like a lot. I still have one of the Pinnacles. I had to send it back to Wampler because the switch became faulty after a while. But I sent it back. They fixed it and they sent it back to me, and it works like a charm. And that's one of the pedals that I probably will keep forever. I really like that sound. If you're talking about brown sound, you know, you can get some really nice brown Eddie Van Halen sounds out of that pedal. So Eddie agrees with me, says he returned the Tonex because the software, it was horrible for me. Yes, it wasn't. It seemed like it wasn't fully baked at the time. And I did mention that on my review video of the first one that I had. Other than that, it would have made a really good unit. The other thing I didn't really like about it was the display. They were using the old style digital display, which I don't know why they did that, which was limiting. But yeah, it is what it is. Alex says, nice Sir Strat. Where did you get it from? Yeah, thanks, man. Sir Standard Pro. I got it in a trade quite a while ago. Originally, I had the humbucker single. I ordered a new pickguard from Sir. They sent me this one, humbucker. And I switched out the pickups and went with this. I'm just more of a humbucker guy. I can't say it fast enough. The middle single coil always gets in the way for me. And I have the same thing with my Charvel. And, well, Shane wanted to see the Charvel. So let me grab that for you. One sec. I'm going to grab it because I promised Shane. I don't know if Shane's even still here, but if he is, I guess he hadn't seen it. He's got a Charvel coming, so I'll put this down. Give me a sec. Keep talking amongst yourselves, guys. I'll be right back. Here we go. Now, probably out of tune. We'll see. We'll see. This one I bought on a whim, as I mentioned earlier. I wasn't at all intending to buy a Charvel. But when I saw it and tried it, I had to get it. Still kind of in tune. Let me just... Actually, let me just turn off the delay on this thing. I don't like the delay. Or is it or the reverb? Yeah, let's keep the... So this one I just came across and I had to get it. At a certain point I said no more guitars with Floyds because they're more hassle than anything, but I couldn't resist it. So I ended up getting it. And it has a really nice neck on it. And the only thing is the middle pickup. It does get in my way because with the Floyd right here, like usually I rest my hand on the bridge on a lot of my guitars, but you can't do that with a Floyd because you throw everything out of whack. So you have to avoid the bridge. So I have to move my hand forward a little bit, which puts my picking hand right over that pickup. And I usually dig my pick quite deep in the strings, so it actually will hit the pickup. So I have to kind of retrain my hand to go a little lighter in the middle. So it's a whole thing. whole adjustment phase, but you end up adjusting to the guitar. But I love this guitar. It's really a nice option to have. And it's the red and the black. I don't know why, it just caught my eye with the rosewood fretboard, and the blackout hardware just was really nice. I couldn't resist. I know I could lower the lower pickup, Jeff, but then you kind of mess up the sound if you like to use the middle pickup. So I do like to use the middle pickup. Even though Rich says no one has ever any love for the middle pickup, there's good tones in there. I don't know if you can hear me hitting the pickup, but I am hitting the pickup right now. Rick says, Tony, by the way, Dari from Honeymoon Suite is an a-hole. Never play that lick. Oh man, what happened? How do you know he's an a-hole? Do you know this personally, Rick? Did he do something to you? Love to hear the story. I like Honeymoon Suite. Well, I liked Honeymoon Suite back in the day. Oliver says, put the middle pickup as low as you can. It should solve this issue. Just don't use the middle pickup. Well, what's the point of having a middle pickup if you're not going to use it? I never understood. I figure I'm just going to, I'll get around it. I'll figure it out. A lot of people don't use that middle pickup. I kind of like it. I don't know. Let's see. If I put on the middle pickup here. That's the middle pickup. That's the middle. This is the neck. This is the bridge. So the middle, or the middle and, I think it's the middle and one of the pickups on the humbucker. And then full humbucker. Anyways, there is a subtle difference there. Sounds funky. Well, probably not funky with the distortion sound that I'm playing with, but yeah, it could be funky if you're playing it clean. All right, so Paul says, pedal of the week, the Rowan Distortion 2 made by Moore. Impressive Boss DS1 clone for $25. So, but you know what? If it is a DS1 clone, I mean, you can get DS1 pedals for like $60 probably used, right? These days. So, you know, is it, I'd probably still go Boss, because you're going to pay $60, but if you don't like it, you can still sell it for $60 if you're buying it used. Whereas the Ronin, even though it's good, Rowan, even though it's good, if you're buying it for $25, like, how could you even sell that pedal? You're going to have to give it away. This is the thing with these inexpensive pedals, you know? So, Rick, I still want to hear the story. Can you go back to Sir to hear the difference? Yeah, I could. But you're gonna like, are you gonna remember the difference? I'll go back here. Don't say I don't try and make you guys happy. I'll go back to the Sir. Give me a sec. right. Can you hear the difference? Those pickups on the Charvel are much hotter than these are. So I don't know if you can hear the difference or not, but there you go. Okay. Ian's Guitar Shack says, I don't like Will Smith because he was disrespectful to my mom at the airport because she didn't know him. Do we really care about Will Smith anymore? I think Will Smith has kind of proven to us his real colors. And I used to like him as an actor. I don't really like him anymore. And I think a lot of people feel the same way right now. So, yeah. Rick says, yeah, personal story. Having to deal with the band. Everyone involved with the band are aces, except Dari, very arrogant and plays the rock star card way too much. Is he still that way now, Rick? I don't know. I mean, maybe back in the day. Presley says, does AI consider the content of our comments before distributing these crowns? I mean, Top Joke should definitely get a jester cap at least. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe as time goes on, AI will get better. And maybe you'll get that Top Joke crown, Presley. Keep them coming, man. Keep them coming. I'm taking note. Shane says, no, stay with the Charvel. Man, I got to go back and forth. All right. So, do we go with the poll question, guys, or do we jump on to some other topics? I still have other topics that I wanted to cover. Let me see here. Oops. Sorry. I'm in the wrong place here. Give me a second. Somebody's hijacking my pages here. I don't know why. All right. Oh, by the way, I had to talk about this, guys. This is something that I found very interesting, and maybe you guys have seen this already. But there's apparently another amplifier coming out that is endorsed by none other than Jimmy Page, called the Nymph, of all names. I don't know who picked this name, but it's called the Nymph. And it's a mini amplifier made by the folks over at Sundragon. And these are... Sundragon is a company that Jimmy Page was affiliated with a little while ago when they came out with a higher wattage amplifier. And they were selling limited runs and they were pretty expensive. Well, anyways, now they came out with another version, which is basically a small amplifier. It's a 1 watt amplifier that can switch down to 1/4 of a watt. And it's very small and it's being endorsed by Jimmy Page right now. And Jimmy, you know, he's a good spokesman. He knows how to sell stuff. He still has a pretty predominant pedestal in which he could influence people to buy stuff, even if it's pretty expensive. And he says that, he loves the sound, and it's basically an amplifier that's inspired by a customized Supro. Kind of Supro amp. And Jimmy Page has been associated with Supro, where a lot of people say that the early Led Zeppelin stuff was recorded on a small amp like a Supro. Nobody's 100% certain though. But anyway, he's endorsing this new amplifier called the Nymph, made by Sundragon. And apparently it sounds great. I haven't heard it. I'm sure there's going to be videos coming out. I don't know what the price is on this yet. I'm not sure if anybody's already mentioned the price. But I'm curious to find out, how many are going to be made, how much it's going to cost. I mean, if the price is good, I'm sure they'll sell a lot of these. But I have a feeling it's going to be pretty expensive. So has anybody spotted a price out there in the wild yet? Because I don't think, let me just do a quick search here. I'm just curious. Just curious because I know generally this stuff is going to be expensive. Can't find it. What the heck? Hold on. It's got to sound good if it's got a funny name like that, right? I don't think anybody's selling it yet. Just so you know, the older Sundragon amps were very expensive. The Sundragon Dragon, I think, was selling for like, or is selling for like $22,000. The limited edition Sundragon was 12,000 or something. So I'm expecting this one here to be very expensive. I don't have a price though. I don't see any prices. Hasn't been announced yet. If Jimmy Page is getting a cut, it's going to be expensive. All right, so let's see here. Okay. Ian's Guitar Shack says, what did Roger Waters do to be facing prison? Getting a news feed on Google. I heard something about that, but it seems like every week or so he's up to no good. I don't know what he did. I'm not sure. I wasn't really following that story, Ian. I don't know. You tell me. Rick says, no recent story. You should be able to separate your stage persona and who you are as a human being. A lot of times, Rick, that line gets a little bit unclear just because people end up getting fat heads, This is what blew me away about, meeting Mr. Greenway, as I like to call him. Brian was so down to earth, man. It's like I'm telling you, if you didn't know he was the guitarist of April Wine, you wouldn't have known. He didn't even mention it. Like, super nice guy. And this is, that blows me away when somebody's been around for such a long time and, it's like really super down to earth. So the question is, do you want to get a Sundragon for XXX amount, or just get a Supro, which is probably going to get you pretty close. I don't know. David says, Waters is in trouble for being criminally overrated as a bass player. Ouch. I kind of agree though. But he's done other things, so we got to thank him for that, I guess. All right, let's, should we go to the poll question, guys? Should we do that, or should we talk about a few other things that I have lined up? We were talking about multi-effects units. There's one other multi-effects units that popped up recently that caught my attention. And I don't know if you've seen this already, but it's a company, it's called the Anagram, basically. And it's a modular multi-effects unit, so it's a bit bigger than a pedal, like a usual pedal. It's about this big. But it's 1,200 euros or dollars. No, $1,200. I think it's 900 euros. But basically, it's a small little unit, and it has all kinds of stuff in there: preamps, amps, bass cabinets, guitar cabinets, effects blocks, the whole thing, tuner. And it's, again, another thing that's going to be tempting us in terms of an option other than going straight into an amp. And the price seems interesting. I haven't heard too much about it yet. I'm going to try and get my hands on one to see whether or not it lives up to the hype, if I can. But, you know, again, so many choices, so little time, and so little money in my bank account. I can't justify trying to try everything. But if any of you have your eye on it and are curious about it, let me know. I want to get your perspective on it as well. Rick says, Tony, you're making the point to my comment. Thank you. Yeah, man. I totally agree with you, dude. You know, people should be nice. Try and be a nice human as much as you can. You know, it doesn't cost you any more effort to be nice. You can either be good or not. It's simple. 50-50 chance, you know. Go 51 being good. Just make, you know, split on the side of good as opposed to being an asshole. That's it's not that hard to do. All right, so let's go into our poll question for today, guys, before you guys get sleepy and tune out. And by the way, once again, if you've tuned in late and you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We do try and get more subscribers interested in watching our videos and whatnot. And of course, thumbs up always helps. So please, if you haven't already, I would appreciate that. We'll go to our poll question. And this week, the poll question, and the reason why I put that poll question out was because I wanted to send you guys a gentle reminder. And the reminder is, like, it's cool to be enticed by gear and it's cool to try out new things. I love doing that kind of stuff. And sometimes I get distracted and I forget that, you know, you have to still be able to play your instrument. And nothing will get you to play better than practicing or learning new songs. So, you know, I try to remind people that, and myself that, just because a lot of people do get distracted, including myself. So I put out a poll question yesterday, kind of late yesterday. We got 173 votes on it. And the question was as the follows. Be honest, was as follows. Be honest, how many of you guys have learned full songs on the guitar so far this year? Okay, so, you know, the year is still young. There's still a lot to go. And I'm just curious to know how many guys out there are actually spending time learning new songs, learning how to play, practicing techniques and all that kind of stuff. So the poll question and the results to the poll question are in, and I'll go through in order of priority which poll question got the most answers. And I am not surprised that most of you say that you've learned 1 to 5 songs so far this year. And, you know, I'm not knocking that. I think 5 new songs is good. It takes a long time to learn a new song, specifically if they're challenging on guitar. Like if they're just, you know, chord changes or progressions, you could probably learn 5 songs rather quickly. But if you're trying to learn new songs which are technically challenging, you know, that delve into the virtuoso realm of things, and you're learning how to play Matteo Mancuso's songs or something like that, you could probably, you know, have to work at it for quite a few months before you get things up to speed and get things to flow and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, in that case, 1 to 5 of those type of songs, that's pretty good. So 38% of you said 1 to 5, which is, I'm not surprised. 34% of you said, I just like to noodle. And I appreciate the honesty, guys, because I like to noodle too, unfortunately. But sometimes noodling doesn't get you that far if you keep on noodling the same stuff over and over again. But I do appreciate the honesty. So the next highest ranked question at 17% is 10 or more. That's impressive, man. If you can set aside time in your busy day to learn 10 new songs, that's fantastic. And if you're like Zach that likes to practice every day, that's great, man. Keep it up. I wish I had time to practice every day like that. But unfortunately, with my busy schedule, I don't always get the time. But 17% of you said that's what you're doing. So fantastic. Keep it up. And then 10% of you said 5 to 10, which is not shabby at all. That's great. Keep up the momentum. What do you guys do to keep up the momentum, though, to not make you get stale, or, maybe after a certain amount of time you learned a lot of songs. Maybe there's not that many songs that you're interested in anymore. There was a couple of comments. So I'll read those comments. So Smart Alex says, many more than normal, focused on making progress over wasting money on gear. And that is the good attitude, Smart Alex, even though, unfortunately, I'm kind of enticing you not to do that with my channel. It is the right way. That's the right approach. Fiona Misty said at least 25. That's amazing. That's really good. Thumbs up to that. And then another viewer said none. I'm not into doing covers. So he's not learning anybody's songs. I guess he's just creating his own. And that's another option. Create your own stuff. Nothing wrong with that. So Paul, our very own Paul, said, I only play tunes I write, but to keep each of them distinct, I write parts that involve challenging fingering and movements all over the fretboard. I also incorporate theory and change modes. In short, I do not play parts in my comfort zone, which makes them difficult and challenging to master. So in a year, there are seldom more than 5 tunes, but these tunes are tunes that bands in my past might have wanted to make as many as 3 tunes out of by using the verses, chorus, and mid-8 as a tune on their own. So that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. It's like, it really depends on how complex or challenging the songs are. So if you're learning only 5, or if you're playing only 5 during a year, it's because they're challenging. The important thing is that you're keeping yourself challenged. And Vinny's World says, many more this year. A lot were songs that I already had heard from many years, but because I actually have the chance to play out now, I needed to go back and learn those songs in their entirety to be stage ready. So that's cool. That's awesome. Keep it up, guys. If you guys are doing that, fantastic, and hats off to you guys. You know what? As I get older, one of the main challenges that I've been experiencing lately is just arthritis, man. I feel like I'm getting arthritis everywhere. My hands, my arms, my shoulders, and it really does take an effect on your playing. And even this morning I was playing and I'm like, oh yeah, that finger's not moving the way it should. And the key is, I guess, to keep things moving, to keep things loose, and playing probably only helps that. So if you're feeling that you're being challenged physically in any way, it's like doing stretching exercises and whatnot, warm-up exercises. You got to keep those fingers moving. So if you do that, you should have less issues over time. So hopefully none of you are having those issues, or not going to have those issues for a long time. Ibuprofen is a wonder drug. It's funny, as we get older, we distance ourselves from, certain things and become acquainted to other types of drugs like ibuprofen. Danielle says, I usually listen to several arrangements of jazz standards. Don't directly copy anyone. Work out the chord melody and arrangement. Yeah, you know what? One thing I wanted to say, and I'll leave you guys with this because I've been talking quite a bit, and unless you guys have something else you want to talk about. I did want to talk about a couple of little things, a couple of announcements, so I'll maybe close with that. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is that over time, what I've learned is that when it comes to playing guitar, groove is super important. And this is something that I need to work on personally. If you're playing a melody or any kind of lead part or anything like that, if your internal time clock is not precise. In other words, if you're not tapping your toes and you're not listening to the beat behind what you're playing, it's kind of like you lose the listener, especially if there's no band and you're playing alone. That's something that I've noticed. Like sometimes we'll just freeform it, but you're not actually listening to any kind of beat. And I actually reminded myself of that this week. I was listening to a conversation Al Di Meola was having with someone, and he is amazing when it comes to his groove and his rhythm. And he mentioned like he always wanted to be more of a percussionist, and you could really hear that in his playing, because in his picking hand is very percussive. And when he's playing any type of sound or any type of line, rhythm, lead, it's all about the spaces between the notes. Like he leaves a lot of spaces between the notes from time to time, but then when he comes back in, he's coming back in on the beat, where if you don't master that, it seems sloppy. And the more you master that, the more kind of silence you can leave between the notes. And that's what makes the music interesting. So that's something that I really want to learn how to develop on my own, and I got to practice that more. And it goes back to like playing with a click, playing with a metronome, tapping your toes, playing with some kind of a rhythm, and then, trying to keep that rhythm internally, internalize the rhythm and the groove, so you can always sort of hear that even though it's not going on. That's super, super important. Charlie S says, Tony, plug in the new Marshall. I'm late if you did. Charlie, I didn't plug in the new Marshall, but I'm going to be doing a video on that. I got to make you hear it. It does sound great. So I'll be doing all kinds of videos with that particular Marshall for you guys. Specifically that cabinet. Sounds really good. But I want to do a specific video making you hear that JCM 800 through the 2x12 cabinet with the Celestion V-type speakers, and the same head going through the 4x12 cabinet that's behind me with the Celestion 65s, just to make you hear the difference and what a difference a cabinet could make. It's quite surprising. David said, my fingers hurt. Well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. My back already hurts, man. Put it this way, there's not many parts on my body that doesn't hurt right now. So yeah, the joys of getting older, I would say. Eddie also says, and this is a good point, I noticed this message here. Eddie says, learning to play with the lightest touch possible has helped me the most. I used to squeeze the shit out of the neck. Not anymore. You know what? I do that too, and I've been trying to remind myself not to do that. A lot of the players, their picking hand is very light. And I think when your picking hand is lighter, you can move faster. You know what I mean? And I dig in. I hit the strings quite hard. But if you go light, you can probably play quicker. So that's something else, to keep this hand and wrist loose. That also helps tremendously. Yeah, man, there's a lot of little tricks, Okay, we're going to wrap it up, guys. I just wanted to mention a couple of little things in closing. First of all, if there's any Cult fans out there, the Cult has announced that the Death Cult is going to be touring in 2025. And that is exciting for me because I'm a big Cult fan. And they've announced quite a few different, venues. And if you guys are interested in seeing those, they're probably on their website somewhere. North American tour. And it kicks off in October. So in Niagara Falls. So I guess close to home. And it will conclude in Los Angeles. And I believe it's going to be Niagara Falls, Boston, New York, Washington, Charlotte, Atlanta, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Las Vegas, San Diego, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. So unfortunately, they're not going to be swinging by my province, but they will be playing in Niagara Falls on October 9th. So if you're interested in catching any of those shows, put that on your agenda. I was excited to hear that. Also, you probably heard Aerosmith is teasing a comeback. Now, I'm kind of almost not hearing these announcements anymore because they've said it so many times. It's like, we're out, we're back in, we're out, we're back in. But basically what they're saying right now is that there's rumors that Aerosmith will be performing maybe one last concert. I don't know. At this stage, it's almost like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. We keep on hearing the same story over and over again. So I couldn't really tell you if this one's going to stick. And there was an interesting story about Keith Richards, that apparently there was some guitars that were stolen from him back in 1972 when they were recording Exile on Main Street. And apparently some thieves broke into the recording studio and they took off with Keith Richards' 1959 Sunburst Gibson Les Paul Standard, a bass that Bill Wyman had, and a saxophone. And apparently in May, the Metropolitan Museum of Arts in New York announced that it had received a massive collection of guitars. And within that collection of guitars, they found themselves with that missing Keith Richards guitar. So how cool is that? Now, I don't know if they're going to be returning it to Keith Richards or how it works, but I think it's going to be cool that, Keith Richards can maybe get his, guitar that he used back in 1972 back. I think that's pretty sweet. They haven't said what's going to happen exactly, but hopefully they'll give it back. Hey, Warhearts, what's happening, dude? We're getting to the end of the show, but, we're still sticking around a little while longer. So it's good that you popped in. I appreciate it. Jeff says that taking up the mandolin improves my guitar picking massively. It's funny you say that, Jeff, because Phil X mentions that many times. Him, it wasn't the mandolin, it was the bouzouki, which is kind of similar to a mandolin, I would say. But he used to play Greek music, because Phil X is Greek, and he would play the bouzouki, and the bouzouki has really fast picking. So I think that's what's added to his playing style. He plays really well and really fast. So it's all in the picking hand. Rob says Sonic Temple is one of my all-time favorite CDs. I like the old cult stuff. I like it a lot. There was an album in there that was very, very rocky, sounded a lot like AC/DC. I like that one. That's probably my favorite. Also, who else is teasing a comeback? None other than Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. They may have a project. They've been announcing and teasing something independently of one another, but it looks like they might be getting together. And I wouldn't have thought that would ever happen, because Lindsey Buckingham was kicked out. He was replaced during their last tour, and I didn't think they would ever come back. But I guess, they're maybe going to do something together on their own, which is a good way of doing it, because they originally started it all, right? And Lindsey came out with so many great guitar parts. Of course, Stevie Nicks laid down all of the lyrics and the melodies on top of it. So if they're going to go out alone, maybe do an acoustic thing, just them two, I'm sure a lot of people will be interested. If you're a fan of Fleetwood Mac, I think you would probably want to catch those shows. We'll see. But I just thought I'd mention that as well. And one last thing before we go. There's rumors. Well, actually, I don't think it's a rumor at this stage, because I think they actually announced it already. But Mesa Boogie, who is now owned by Gibson, are apparently re-releasing one of their amps. And it's funny because it's an old amp, and I remember when they came out, it wasn't that long ago. I used to have a few Mesa Boogie amps in my day. I never owned this one. But the Mark II C++, the head version, is going to be released as a limited edition production model. And this one has been made famous by Metallica, because that's one of the amps that they used. And apparently they're looking at, or they've decided to re-release this thing. And I think what's happening is Mesa Boogie has probably ripped a page off of the Gibson playbook, because Gibson does this all the time. They re-release stuff all the time. And, you know, I always feel like they're just tricking us into paying more for the same stuff that they've already released. So I'm not sure how excited I am by this. A lot of people will probably like it and use it and buy it. But in marketing, they call this technique brand premiumization. I can't even pronounce it. Premiumization. Blah, I can't speak. But basically it refers to elevating the perceived value of a product, and doing this to support a higher price, even though the product itself hasn't changed. In other words, they're giving you the same product, they're re-releasing it, they're making it sound more valuable, and they're getting you to pay more money for it. So Gibson does this all the time with their guitars. They re-release stuff all the time. They've been doing that a lot. So now that Gibson owns Mesa Boogie, I think they're like, we can't really make new stuff because that takes a lot of time and R&D money. So why not re-release the stuff we already have, since it's been a long time, and just charge more for it? You know, so I kind of don't like when companies do that. It just bothers me a little bit. Like, give us something new. Okay, you know, I understand the prices will change because you're giving us something new. But when you're rehashing the same stuff over and over again, I'm like, I don't know. So anyways, this is kind of my take on it. But if you're holding on to an old Mesa Boogie amplifier of that particular model, you might want to hang on to it, because I think prices are going to jump. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for participating in the live show. I had a great time with you guys, and we'll probably be back next Sunday. And if you have nothing to do that particular morning, please tune in. I would appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have more stuff to talk about for sure. I'll probably have new things to show you, and there'll probably be new videos out on my channel as well, so we can talk about all of that great stuff at the same time. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Be good, guys. Peace out.